This is the Pole Voima, a 190mm travel electric mountain bike, which is somehow packaged in the smallest box I've ever seen a bike inside. In fact, the packaging itself is super neat. Most bikes get stuffed inside a big 2-meter box, but not this one. As soon as you open the box, you know that the design team have thought about a lot. It may be a small detail, but everything in the box is numbered with removal instructions. The bike is also presented in a real pleasing way, and even the packaging that secures and protects the bike actually runs through the motor axle, and it's even greased for protection. I think it's the little things that make all the difference. And as soon as the bike is removed, it's easy to see that everything about the bike feels a bit different, and in fact pretty special. This is a fully CNC'd bike using high tensile 7075 T6 aluminium, and Pole claim it's nearly twice as strong as aluminium that big bike companies use. And by the way, 7075 T6 aluminium is also used in aircraft, defence and missile parts, so that should give you an idea of how strong it is. Because the bike is shipped in such a small package, which by the way is cheaper and greener to ship, it requires assembly when you receive it. Personally, it's something that I really enjoy. This one even more so than usual, because absolutely everything is organised for you already. It's just like a big Lego toy. All of the hoses, the cables, the bolts, they're already in place and routed. It really is just a matter of following the well-written instructions and bolting things together, and adding a bit of bike grease where appropriate. The bike is available as a frame set only option, which includes the frame, motor and battery, which I think is quite cool if you've got a load of parts already from an existing bike. They've got a ton of configuration options on their website when you build a bike, so it's likely that two bikes will never be the same. I've got to say it's the nicest build I've ever done because everything is prepared for you. All the nuts and bolts are in the places, chain is sized, everything is perfect, you're just doing final assembly, so it's actually quite a pleasurable experience assembling this. So we'll get it out the stand and we'll have a good look around. I've got to say it's a thing of absolute beauty. So I just want to show you around the bike and some of the things that caught my eye when I was looking at it. Now it actually looks really stunning. When you see it and you see all of the little bits of detail and all the decisions that have gone into the bike, and you see that CNC machined aluminium frame, it just looks like a work of art. Honestly, it looks like something that I might want to frame and put on a wall as a showpiece. It actually looks like an exotic piece of engineering, an absolute boutique kind of bike. So I'll show you some of the bits that caught my eye. Can you see the machine lines in here? Here is nicely rounded linkage. Check this out. This is nuts. This is the seat tube collar. All these little bits of detail. All of the linkage parts here, all CNC machined. And it's got this coating on the metal and a wrap applied to it. I really love all these bits of detail. Like in here, we've got etching, website, frame details, the size, the serial number, bottle bosses on here, loads of them. One there, or you can position it down there. It just feels exquisite, absolutely exquisite. And the rear swing arm, look at that, just a seat stay, no chain stay. What a beautiful, beautiful piece of engineering. It is like a work of art. Super steep seat tube angle. I cannot wait to get this out and try some really steep climbs on it. Look at that. Slack head tube angle. 190mm travel, 190mm rear and 190mm on the front. From this RockShox Zeb 29er. It is the longest travel e-bike that I know about. Full 29er as well, which means you're going to get the incredible capabilities and rollover of a 29er and 190mm travel front and rear, which is pretty insane. Bosch CX Gen 4 750 watt-hour removable battery, just with a key, again covered with a piece of CNC'd alloy. Just flipped it round so we can see the other side. Burley tyres and Assegai double down max grip, and on the rear a DHR2 double down max grip, so all out for grip this is, gravity focused. It's running the SRAM X01 drivetrain. Lovely gold chain there. And these Mavic D-Max wheels, they're e-bike specific. And check this out, I've never seen one of these before. This is a speed sensor. So this is a magnet here, and as it rotates past the motor picks it up and it knows how many revolutions the wheel is doing, so it replaces the speed sensor magnet you might have on the rotor or the spoke. I'm running the stem really high on the steerer tube just to kind of get used to it. Test it out. I might lower it down, but I've got 1 to 30mm of spacers under there. 2023 Charger 3 in here as well. So interesting to see how that runs on a 190mm fork. So 29er wheels front and rear with 190mm of travel at the rear as well as the front is an incredible feat of engineering, because when you start to introduce long travel and big wheels, you've got to make enough clearance on all frame sizes for that rear wheel not to come into contact with the seat tube, and enough kind of space for all the linkage to compress. So to package all of that in there in an electric mountain bike with a motor and a big battery is pretty cool. It's a pretty amazing feat of engineering, and that is why I think the chainstay looks a bit different. There's no chainstay actually, there's just kind of like a seat stay and a couple of other linkage parts down there. So to package all of that into a 29er frame with 190mm of travel is, yeah, it's pretty outstanding really. We're not talking about a small footprint motor, it's a Bosch Gen 4 motor, so it's a full power electric mountain bike at 190mm of travel. It's 25.5 kilos. That is with double down tyres front and rear, 750 watt battery. It's got tyre inserts on the front and the back. This is not built to be a lightweight whippet. This is built to just run as fast as you can on the roughest enduro and downhill tracks. It's a 190mm travel. And I remember speaking to someone once and they said, until someone can prove to me that lighter bikes go faster downhill, I don't care about weight. And I think that applies to this bike here. At 25.5 kilos, it's not going to be the lightest and most nimble to pick up and lift around over your head, but no doubt it is going to absolutely bomb it down hills and on enduro tracks. And Pole say it's the ultimate enduro bike park, long distance trail rig, downhill, play bike all in one. And I've said it in my videos before, I'm a massive fan of long travel electric mountain bikes. They just make sense because all of the inefficiencies of regular pedal bikes, when you get long travel, slack head angles, they just become a little bit more difficult to pedal. But when you've got a motor and a big battery, who cares? I mean, they all pedal really well. And using the power from the motor, they say they've bought excellent pedal efficiency, and it's got a super steep seat angle as well. And again, it makes perfect sense on an electric mountain bike. Your seat position is moved forward a little bit, your weight bias is shifted forward, so on the climbs, what I'm thinking is that the front wheel is going to be less likely to want to lift up and loop back out because your weight is perched forward and you can get real far over the cranks and just grind it out and get up some stupidly steep stuff. So there's a lot on this bike that, you know, I would have chosen myself. I would have chosen a long travel 29. I'm a massive fan of 29 front and rear, and I'm tall, 190 centimeters, 6'3". I really like 29. I'm using this in K3 size, so the reach is long, but it's not super long, and because of the steep seat angle, just seated on it and feeling what it feels like seated, it doesn't feel massive. In fact, it doesn't feel big at all, which is surprising. When you look at the geometry, you think, wow, that's pretty out there. Now, chainstays have gotten shorter and shorter, and actually I think it's for the worse. They are not proportioned on many bikes, and short chainstays on long bikes, in my opinion, are a ridiculous thing because the weight bias is way more rearward the longer the bike gets, and if the short chainstay stays short, then compared to a small or a medium, your balance is way off. Now it's got a 455mm chainstay, which for me is brilliant. In fact, I'm starting to like longer chainstays over shorter chainstays. I feel way more balanced on a bike with a longer chainstay. Reading through the user manual, most user manuals are just all focused on safety and to stop the company from getting sued, really. That's important because safety is important, and there's some stuff in here on safety, but there's a load on suspension setup, and it talks in a language that you can understand and appreciate. It's not just saying set the fork to 20% sag, set the shock to 30% sag. It explains what you're doing and why you're doing it, and if you go less or more, and if you change the compression damping, it explains the effect that you might feel. And it feels really personal. It feels like someone wants you to get the best experience from the bike. And there's 4 or 5 pages or so on how to set up your suspension, which is probably more than I've ever seen, other than just a token paragraph that are in most bike user manuals. So I do have this bike for quite some time. Definitely a full video's coming out. So subscribe if you want to be the first to see that. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you soon.